Every second, 28,258 users are watching pornography on the internet. $3,075.64 is being spent on pornography on the internet. 372 people are typing the word adult into a search engine. Every day, 37 pornographic videos are created in the United States. 2.5 billion emails containing porn are sent or received. 68 million search queries related to pornography. 25% of total searches are generated. 116,000 queries related to child pornography are received. Where is the porn industry leading us? It seems that the concept of pornography is as old as the history of humanity. After all, humans have been having sex since the dawn of time. So, this thing has been part of our lives since a long time ago, and I dare to say that we all have participated in it. I mean, I've watched it, and I'm sure most or all of you have watched it as well. I can openly say that I was addicted to it since I was a teenager, up until my early 20s. Did it feel good? Of course. But in the end, with maturity, I came to realize that it was just a coping mechanism. I was watching porn only to make up for other bigger problems I had in my life. I was just procrastinating.
Millennials are the first generation that we could really test what would happen when young kids got their hands on internet porn.
In the present day, pornography is available to almost everyone who wants it. You can find it on the internet, a source that is available to us from almost anywhere around the planet. You can find it on social media or in more specialized websites. But let's stop for a moment and ask ourselves the question, what is pornography? To make sure that we're all on the same page, let's look at the definition. The Oxford Dictionary defines pornography as printed or visual material containing the explicit description or display of sexual organs or activity intended to stimulate erotic rather than aesthetic or emotional feelings. So, in other words, pornography is anything that stimulates our pleasure through the depiction of explicit sexual activities. Sometimes even audio or written stories can be porn. As long as it's stimulating, it falls into the category. Now, the big question is it good? Is it bad? Is it both? In this video, we'll explore the effects of pornography beyond the boundaries of morality, and we'll see what it can do to us, especially to our brains, if we become addicted to it. The origin of pornography and the industry it is today. The fact that I'm making the video about pornography says a lot about the current state of the industry. I mean, if this video was made in the 90s, a lot of people would be ashamed to even watch it, and it would probably be banned in a lot of places. But today, pornography is a major phenomenon in contemporary society, and people are more comfortable to talk about it. The origins of what we know now as porn date back to 1524, when an Italian man named Mark Antonio Raimondi was imprisoned for displaying sexually explicit images through a series of erotic engravings. It was Pietro Aretino, an Italian author, who founded the idea of modern pornography and helped negotiate Raimondi's freedom. Then, in the 19th century, porn came to life through earlier forms of art, and later, as photography and film evolved, so did the porn industry. Today, porn is the stock in trade of sexual capitalism, the billion-dollar, globalized industrial production, distribution, commercialization, and consumption of explicit sexual imagery across media platforms in real space and cyberspace. There's even a porn awards show happening in Las Vegas every year. Obviously, every country and culture around the world has different attitudes towards it. Some are more conservative and some are more open-minded. But regardless of where you live, you probably can access it today if you want to. And one thing we need to understand is that without consumers, this would not be such a successful business. The fact that the industry has been alive and thriving for so long means that there was always a market for it, even in the 1500s when the internet was not even a thing. How much porn are we consuming? The amount of pornographic material available on the web is staggering. Economists, search engines, and multiple online data sources tell us that the market for such materials is huge. To get a clearer view, let's have a look at some numbers within the American population. About 200 Americans are classified as porn addicts. 40 million American people regularly visit porn sites. 35% of all internet downloads are related to pornography. 34% of internet users have experienced unwanted exposure to pornographic content through ads, pop-up ads, misdirected links, or emails. 1/3 of porn viewers are women. If there's one thing that we can get from all these numbers, is that a big part of our society is currently consuming porn. And if there's anything bad about consuming too much porn, it's important to learn about it right now. Everyone talks about how watching too much porn is bad for us, but do we even know why? Besides the guilt and shame that come from a conservative mindset. To have a better look, let's listen to an expert who points out 3 negative effects of watching too much porn.
Okay, number 1 is easy. It is a lot of time. I'm going to say wasted. Some people will argue with me, but a lot of time spent watching highly stimulating graphic material. So first of all, science proves that spending all that time getting artificial dopamine dumps into your brain is making it so that that activity becomes highly rewarding for you. And that is what keeps drawing you back for more and more and more, because your brain thinks that you're accomplishing something by getting the release of the dopamine from the reward center in your brain. At the same time, though, unfortunately, it's hijacking the reward center in your brain. And the hijacked brain is what pornography-induced brains are being called these days, because the reward center is completely taken over and it is altered so that it misfires highly for pornography consumption and masturbation, and then less in the real world. So what happens is all that time spent watching pornography makes it so that you have less motivation to go into the world and to go to work and really crank out your best work, or to engage in a purpose and to be motivated to get things done around your house, in your hobby, spending time with your friends, because it no longer gives you the same stimulation as the porn does. So it keeps pulling you back for more and more and more. That's why it's so sleuthy. That's why I say, yes, this is an addiction. People will tell me it's not too, because it feels good and it will induce a false sense of flow in the brain while you're watching it, but it really can mess with how you interact with the world.
Alright, so clearly watching porn absorbs our time and distracts us from doing other things that could be more productive.
Okay, which leads us to number 2. It's proven to create mood disorders or difficulties. So there's more anger, rage, depression, anxiety. You'll feel irritable. So if you've noticed that you have more anger or just things make you mad that shouldn't, that is a side effect of porn consumption. It changes the way that you interact with the world. Again, going back to, you're not getting the release of dopamine for interacting with your family or your friends now, not half as much as it is when you're watching the porn. So what happens is your brain goes, this isn't working for me. I'm not getting any excitement here. I'm not getting rewarded. I'm not getting pain reduction and pleasure. I need to go back and watch more of porn, because that's where I'm getting the release that I need, which leads to the last side effect of porn, is that there's, and I look at my notes because
So, in case you don't know it, dopamine is a chemical produced by the body, and it helps us feel pleasure as part of the brain's reward system. Think of the taste of your favorite food, okay? Or shopping for clothes that you want without worrying about the money. All these things make us feel pleasure and joy. That's dopamine acting in our bodies. And well, when we watch porn, the body releases dopamine as well. But when we spend too much time on it, we'll most likely stop experiencing joy in other areas of our lives, and as a consequence, we'll start experiencing mood swings.
I tried to reduce it to 3 so I wasn't just ranting, if you've seen some of my other videos, is that compulsive masturbation, which goes along with pornography watching or consumption, can lead to erectile dysfunction. So there's a lot of sexual dysfunction that falls out for people because they watch too much porn.
Excessive consumption of porn comes with an excessive need to masturbate. and consequently, that excess is often the cause of sexual dysfunction, which we all know is not fun at all. Ultimately, porn can become an addiction, and that's when it starts having negative effects on our brains. A study done by the government of Australia on the effects of porn on young people showed that the use of pornography by adolescents is associated with stronger permissive sexual attitudes such as premarital sex and casual sex. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that as long as your moral compass does not tell you otherwise. It's just that there's evidence that shows us that porn can't be your guiding light when it comes to sexual behavior. If watching porn is what makes you want to have sex, we might be running into bigger issues. It was pointed that the use of adolescent pornography is associated with stronger beliefs in gender stereotypes, particularly for males. Male adolescents who view pornography frequently are more likely to view women as sex objects and to hold sexist attitudes, such as the idea that women are leading men on. Pornography often supports sexual violence and violence against women. There is evidence of an association between consuming pornography and perpetrating sexual harassment for boys. Adolescents who consumed violent pornography were 6 times more likely to be sexually aggressive compared to those who viewed non-violent pornography or no pornography at all. Do women deserve this? Of course not. But it's obvious that there's a big problem in regards to violence against them in our current society. And believe it or not, the source of this problem has a lot to do with porn. Is there a brighter side? So far, it seems like everything that has to do with porn is completely negative. But for the sake of considering all parts of the effects porn has on us, we could try to look at the positive things. In a study conducted by the Queensland University of Technology, it was found that people who watch porn are reportedly less repressed about sex and more open-minded about it. Also, they are more tolerant of other people's sexualities. And in a way, it helps people to get the sexual education they seek, and it helps them keep the sexual interest in long-term relationships by being more attentive to their partner's sexual pleasure. Also, porn has made people more open to discussions with their partners about sex. So there's indeed a bright side, but we should never put these above all the negative things we just talked about. We gotta be kind to our bodies, and we should never let an addiction get the best of us. Moreover, we should never see other people as objects or embrace anything that promotes violence against other human beings. With that being said, porn can be educational for some people, but in the long run, the negative effects seem to weigh more than the positive ones. To put it simply, porn is like fast food. It's easy to get, it's fast, it tastes good, and the thought that everyone consumes it, it must be good, is what keeps us going. But is it good for our health? An old documentary already showed us what happened to someone who consumed McDonald's on a daily basis. If we look at pornography the same way we look at fast food, we'll probably make more sense of the situation. And so, we can ask ourselves, is porn the only sexual aspect that exists in your life? Does its consumption interfere with the real-life interactions? Is porn our only source of sexual satisfaction? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, it might be a good time to evaluate your choices on the matter. But don't worry, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Just make sure you seek help and find a way to use your time wisely. After all, we know that soda and French fries might be tasty on the spot, but they will probably damage our system if we consume them every day. So, if we want to be better humans, we can't conform to the things that bring instant satisfaction and long-term destruction.